Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. Wait a second, that's not Master Duel. Yes, that is correct, we are playing Shadowverse, and the reason for this is because, as you may have seen, recently I have been playing more Shadowverse. The reason for this is because I am starting a challenge where I'm going through all of the major TCGs online, or online TCGs, and I am going to try to get to the highest rank in all of them for two reasons. One, so that I can actually say that I've played other games, basically, and give, more objective opinions, or objective opinions, in more objective statements, what I like and what I dislike about them, and, having more experience with them. And then, of course, just as an additional way to challenge myself and get better at just card games in general. And the first one I decided to play was Shadowverse. And I'm coming to you in this video, one, to kind of tell you how it's been going, and just to give you my general thoughts on the matter, because we have officially hit Ruby rank, which is basically equivalent to what I would say is like gold. It's the first two ranks, it's like the third rank where you can't D-rank from it, so I could lose all of my matches from here on out and still remain in Ruby. But for the most part, it is similar in nature to that of gold in like Master Duel, or in most games. It's like that middle rank where it's not really high rank, but it's just kind of like where everyone more or less starts. So it feels like now I've kind of gotten a grasp of how the game is actually played. I'm still in C2, which is the other rank. I don't know how this rank system works. I don't think anyone actually understands it. I don't even think Games understands it. By the way, yeah, this game is made by Games. And it's really bad because of that. We'll talk about that later. But overall, I wanted to show you some of the games and how the games look. However, first and foremost, I'm going to show you the deck that we are using. It's Runecraft. It's the only deck I've realistically been able to play because Dear Atlanta, it's so expensive to play, like, just anything else. This is the one that I just happened to have the most legendaries in. That's literally it. So, yeah, I'm just going to quickly go through all of the cards that I have here. So yeah, we're playing 3 apiece of Fortnite and Stormy Blast for 1 mana. This just draws a card, or sorry, Foresight. Fortnite, same thing. Foresight and Stormy Blast. This one just like it does a bunch of damage, and then this one does or draws a card. We're also playing a Witch's Brew as well, or Witch's New Brew, which creates an Earth token and draws a card as well, or an Earth Sigil and draws a card, and it puts a little thing on the board, which is sometimes very frustrating. That being said, we're also playing it to Leah. It's just like protection, basically. And it draws a card when it dies. We're playing Melvie as well, which grabs this one, so it's just another way to draw cards. We're also playing Pascal's Dance, which is also another way to draw cards. And notably, all of these spells here, these ones that are, spells and not creatures. They don't have like the stats here. They're spells. All of the spells, what they do is they spell boost my hand, which is very important, and that's generally what we're doing. We're playing Runecraft Spell Boost, which means that if I activate a thing, or if I activate a spell, I should say, there are a bunch of cards that gain bonuses based on the amount of spells I've activated. So that's why we're playing a bunch of like low-cost spells here. We're also playing, or that's it for the 2 costs as well. We're playing a bunch of 3-cost spells as well. Flames of Chaos, which is another way to deal damage. Homework Time, which draws cards. And then Sage Light Teaching, which can heal us, which matters quite significantly. But it can also nuke the field, which is also pretty nice. Then we're playing a bunch of 5-cost monsters that we want to summon. They're just pretty good for ramping. And this one like spell boosts us. This one also has the ability to spell boost, but it creates a bunch of little dinguses. And if you evo it, it creates dinguses every turn. It's great. We also have 1 Norman. Notably, I have significantly fewer legendaries than I probably should. And the reason for this is because I don't have the necessary crafting material for this, which is frustrating, to say the least. Theoretically, I should have 3 of this, and 3 of this, and 3 of this, and 3 of this, and I don't. There's also another legendary that I should have at least 1 to 2 of, that I, again, do not even have any copies of. So again, I'm missing quite a few very important key cards that I just do not have access to. So, alas. And it's not like I haven't been playing this game for a long time. In fact, I have. It's just I just don't have them, so it's, again annoying. That being said, we are playing Norman as well. He's very good, just another way to heal or to protect yourself, just a strong guy. We also have Oguri Cap, which is actually Odin, and he is just a big dingus. He banishes a guy, and he also attacks, which is very important. Notably, this card has Storm, which is a mechanic that I will get to later, but it allows you to attack just anything as soon as it enters the field, which means that it's similar to haste or other such mechanics of said nature, which is basically just you slap it down and then you can immediately attack, which is very important. We also have Kuon. We have 3 of him. He's very important. He's very strong, and I happen to have 3 of him. We also have 2 Demonic Call, which also can spell boost, reduces its cost, which is very nice, alongside 3 Dimension Climb, which is the win condition of the deck, basically, because you play Dimension Climb alongside your Kokaitis, and then from there you basically win the game, because on summon, this guy replaces your deck with the Apocalypse deck, which, if you don't know, is a crazy set of 10 cards, which are some of the most powerful cards in the entire game, including like a 6 cost, 10 attack Storm monster, which means you can do literally half of the opponent's health in 1 attack with just that one guy. He's very powerful. He also has a bunch of other guys that are just insanely powerful as well. So pretty much every single one of the cards in this deck is very, very good and just immediately wins you the game. And with Dimension Climb, it resets your hand. Sorry, it reduces its cost on spell boost by 1, which is how you play it. So you spell boost your hand. It goes down to 0, hopefully. Hopefully you've played 18 spells or have the ability to play 18 spell boosts. You activate this, you return your hand to the deck, draw 5, spell boost your hand 5 times, and then fully recover all of your play points, which is your mana. So basically you play this and then reset everything. And at 10 mana, if this is at 0, at 10 mana you go Kokaitis, and then you immediately can go Dimension Climb, draw into those very powerful cards from the Apocalypse deck, and then deal an insane amount of damage to the opponent. That's the win condition. Let me show you how that deck works. Alrighty, here we are going second, and when we go second, we get an additional play point, which means we have an additional mana that we can use twice, technically, over the course of the game. So you can see here that we have this little play point here, and it refreshes in 6 turns. So in 6 turns, I get an additional play point that I have access to. So do keep that in mind. Basically, my opponent gets to go first, but two things. One, I get to evolve first, which is the core mechanic of Shadowverse, but also I get an additional play point, which means I get an additional mana, which is great. Hip hip hooray. So let's see what I can accomplish here. My opponent just passes. That happens fairly often. Not everyone has a 1 mana cost card. However, I am going to elect it to just immediately start by using that play point and just playing a 2 cost card here. My hand is pretty good because we did draw the Dimension Climb, so I immediately wanted to get that online with my spell boosts, which I'm going to keep right there. So you can see I drew the Dimension Climb, so I'm immediately going to activate that spell and use it to draw a card during the end phase. So I draw that additional card, and it happens to be a card that draws me an additional card. Fantastic. My opponent's going to play a... this is actually the same card as this one. I just am not playing this game for Harurara, so there you go. But alas, they are going to then play another one of their cards, which boosts their card. They're going to actually activate it again, so it costs them a total of 3 mana in order to boost their card there. That's fine. I draw, and look, my hand's not looking great here. I could either go like Witch's New Brew and stuff like that. So we're going to do that, draw a card. It's not great, but we're just going to go for the Foresight as well. Draw an additional card and just boost up and be like, okay, don't kill me, please. Don't kill me, please. Yeah, me using that play point early on ended up kind of biting us in the butt. But alas, it's fine. I'm going to go homework time and just engage this again. So what's happening here is I'm using a play point to basically just gain another one of these Earth Sigils. And basically that's all that's happening is it costs 1 mana, that little engage, and then it's 1 play point. And then I get another Earth Sigil. Earth Sigils can be used for a variety of different things. Notably with this card, if it would hover over it, if I use 3 of those Earth Sigils, that's where it says Earthright, it's the 3rd effect, Earthright 3, I deal 4 to all enemy followers, so that's something I could potentially do on the following turn. Anyway, my opponent is going to elect to draw 2 and yeah, and then go from there. They're going to draw another card as well, and then they're going to deal a ton of damage to me. And notably, I can only have a maximum number of 9 cards in my hand. So while I had 9 cards in hand, when I drew for turn, it just disappears. It just dies, and there's not really a way to get that back. So it shows you the spell that you had access to, or the card you would have had access to, and it goes away. Luckily, it wasn't anything too important, but yeah, that can be an issue sometimes. I have had Cocytus get destroyed by that, and it was very frustrating, but alas, that didn't happen this time. But that's fine, because now we get to go for Anne here, which is a very, very good card. And we're going to Evo it here in order to just pop the other monster on field. And we're also going to destroy the other card here, which allows them to draw an additional card. They're going to draw for turn, and play another Haru. And then they're going to they're going to recover a play point, as well as deal 4 to a random card, and then they're going to play an additional card, which they boost off the Haruru with. But that's fine. We're going to go and play this one, which grabs us the spell with which to draw, and then we are going to restore 4 as well here. But then we also have the ability to summon the Shikigami here, which just is a guy. He can attack monsters on the same turn it's summoned. That's that rush ability. But when he dies, he also spell boosts the hand, which is pretty good. My opponent's going to just play this 7 mana card that just nukes the field. It's insanely powerful. However, I'm going to play an even better card, Kuon! Kuon is one of the craziest cards in this deck, and is genuinely very, very powerful, hence why he is legendary. When you Super Evo him, he gives Storm, which is the ability to attack directly, to another Shikigami, which is one of the cards that he summons, but also on summon, he summons a Celestial Shikigami, this guy, a Demonic Shikigami, this guy, and a Paper Shikigami, which is the guy that we already had on field, all of which, well, sorry, these two, the last two, have Rush, and if you Super Evo him, he gives another one Storm. So basically what you do is you summon him, you summon a bunch of guys, you Super Evo him, he becomes a 6/6, and then you also give Storm to this guy to deal 4 extra damage, and you just kind of clean up the field. So that's basically what is that's what is happening here. And of course, when these cards die, they give a spell boost, which means that you have even more ways to boost your hand. My opponent's also going to play one of their more powerful cards, which is Cerberus. Cerberus on summon is going to summon these 2 dinguses. One of them deals damage to me, one of them heals them when they die, and then of course, on top of that, they have the ability to reborn them as well when they get Super Evo'd. So that's the general mechanic of Abyss, is that they have these shadows, as well as they have the ability to reanimate, or basically think of like zombies in Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway, they're going to go to combat here. They're going to deal with the field. Most notably, the monster that I had it there with the shield around it. Your opponent can only attack those monsters with monsters first. So basically, like, that shield existing means that they can only attack those shielded monsters. And it would require them to destroy that card first before they could attack either my face or any of my other monsters. Right? So, there's that. But my opponent is going to just nuke the field, deal a whole bunch of damage because of the little guy that deals a bunch of damage, or that like burns me. But alas, I am going to elect to just pop here with my Stormy Blast, and then I'm also going to go for Odin here and just banish their thing that they had and deal 4 damage, because the rest of the hand I kind of just want to keep. There's not really anything else to do there. I could have dealt with that board in a few different ways, but alas, this is the way that I elected to do it. My opponent's going to go for the Supplicant here. They're going to heal themselves a whole bunch by its Evo effect, as well as its regular effect. On summon it heals, and then on Evo it heals, and then this one also heals, so he's back up to 15. Notably, with this game, you can't go over the original starting life points of 20, so do keep that in mind. Anyway, we draw a 3rd Dimension Climb, which is very funny, and it's not very good. Anyway, we're going to draw a card here. And at this point, I'm just setting up for a Dimension Climb. So we're going to attempt to nuke the field, and then I'm going to go for the Dimension Climb. I could have potentially done something else there, but at this point, I'm running really low on time. Just, turns are very, very fast in this game. It's very frustrating. But I'm going to summon another guy, and then we're going to activate this, and then I'm going to summon another guy, and then I'm going to draw some cards. So we're going to draw some cards here, and then I'm going to summon this guy. Realistically, I should have activated Foresight there as opposed to summoning this guy, but alas, it's fine. Again, I was like extremely low on time. There was kind of nothing I could have done there. But my opponent is going to summon out 2 guys with Ward, which are the shields here. They're going to summon this guy, which auto-evolves, and they're also going to grab a Ghost here, which is just going to deal with one of the guys on field. So, there's that. Okay. Well, now I have a really, well, I don't really have a whole lot here. So I actually just go digging. I could have potentially, like, dealt with my own field and then summon Kuon, and Kuon also has the ability where if he's, if you play him for 10 mana as opposed to the standard 7, he nukes the field and summons a bigger Shikigami of the combined strength of the other Shikigamis that you had. So he just basically makes a 10-10 with shield and aura and stuff like that, which just makes him very difficult to out. However, I elected to not do that. I elected to dig, and I did find Norman, which is the best card that we could have gotten here. Because on summoning, he's going to restore additional 4 life points for us, which is fantastic. And on top of that, we're going to Evo him again and summon a Golem, which is just going to have Barrier and Ward, which just means, again, he's difficult to deal with. It's like, he can't be destroyed once, right? So like once per turn, or not once per turn, just once while this card's on the field, he can't be destroyed. So that's generally what's happening here. But alas, he can be, that mechanic can be circumnavigated, basically. So my opponent is going to elect to do some things. I don't know why they elect to evolve the Haru here. I think the reason for this is just to try and find Sham, which is the main mechanic for them. As you can see here, they have some faith. They have it's just one of the mechanics of the game. If they find Sham, all of a sudden, all of their mechanics just kind of like turn on. But alas, they're actually dead here. They're exactly dead here. So, remember how I said that Kuon can summon a noble Shikigami? Well, remember how also he gives one of your allied Shikigamis Storm, which can attack directly? So my opponent's at half of their life points, right? But alas, Storm is a mechanic that exists in this game. So while I still have 2 things on their field, it's fine because I can just ignore it entirely. However, because of the way that Super Evo works, first of all, I'm going to Super Evo my guy, I'm going to boost my Shikigami, and then I'm going to attack one of their monsters, killing it, and by killing it, dealing an additional point of damage, winning me the game. Hooray. Okay, here we are in the mirror match going first, and I wanted to show you this one as well, because it showcases the main win condition with the Dimension Climb and Cocytus combo. This hand is significantly worse. Well, maybe not significantly worse. It kind of depends on this foresight. Okay, this hand is significantly worse than the previous hands, but it could be better. Overall, like, we have some really good late game payoffs, which is honestly not bad in this matchup because we were playing the mirror match, right? My opponent could be playing something worse, but for the most part, we were playing the mirror match. We draw a really good card there. That's great. That's just great for the curve. So we get to mana curve there a little bit better. And alas, we get to grab Melby. And there's Cocytus! Whoa! Ruler! Yay! So we didn't really end up drawing anything that we could realistically play, so we're just going to activate the Witch's New Brew, and then activate it as well to gain an additional sigil. That's pretty much all that we could do there. I draw homework time, and it's, again, like, literally the only thing I can do. So I activate it, and we do draw Norman, which is a pretty good draw, and we're just going to deal a little bit more damage, but alas, they get to go first, and they're going to activate the Anne and Gree, which gives them the ability to boost their hand a little bit more, and summon, of course, this guy, the little shield guy with rush and stuff like that. He's very powerful. But alas, I have the ability to do that as well. And I'm actually going to Evo here, just to deal with the field. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I just didn't want them to have a 4 attack guy on their field. That can be a lot of damage. So it's like, if they have some sort of removal, which of course they always do, I just needed a way to deal with that. And it did cost my Evo, so that kind of sucks. Alas, that's fine. I'm actually going to go for this Evo as well, which is very good because we get this crest, which is basically a continuous effect for the rest of the duel, or at least until the crest says. Where it says, on the start of the turn, we summon one of these dinguses, which on attack, not when it's attacked, but specifically when it attacks, it spell boosts the hand, which is great. That's another great way to spell boost the hand. So you can see here, we've already spell boosted our Dimension Climb 7 times. If we do it 11 more times, it's for free, which is very, very good. My opponent's going to play their Norman here, and just summon 2 big dinguses. That's pretty much it. So, a little bit of an issue, right? These are difficult to out, nonetheless. Or nevertheless, I should say. But alas, we should have the ability to beat it here. And yeah, we're just going to slap down the Kuon. Notably, we did get rid of the one of the barriers. So basically, the way the barrier works, the first time you would take damage, you don't, right? So we just deal with one of them, and then we can deal with it again. So, like, they just don't take damage the first time. So we're going to deal just little chippies damage there. But, of course, we can play the Demonic Call for free, because we reduced its cost all the way to 0, and now we can just walk over the field here. Also, with Super Evo, if you attack a monster, you don't take damage, right? Very silly. Anyway, they're going to play a thing that evolves and then deals 4 to a random enemy, and then they're going to play another Norman. Norman is very, very good for this deck for 2 reasons. 1, because it summons this guy, and 2, because it heals you. That's like the big thing with this guy and why he's so good. For 6 mana, he can basically restore 8, which is crazy. He can restore 8 health, which is very, very important, but he also summons these guys, which are very difficult to deal with, and it requires a lot of commitment. As you will see here. So for 8 mana here, we're just immediately going to start, pretty much every turn, we're going to start the same way, just attacking with the little dingus, so that we have the ability to one, spell boost our hand, which is very important, just always constantly wanting to spell boost, and then on top of that, to potentially deal with any other threats, and there's a lot of other ways to do that. But alas, here, we're going to just deal with that, just mostly dealing with the barrier, so that when we play Flames of Chaos, which has been spell boosted an insane amount of times, we basically just nuke the field. So that's what we were accomplishing there. Anyway, my opponent is going to just draw some more cards, and it looks like they don't really have anything at this point. And at this point, we are 1 mana away from literally killing them. So we just need to survive 1 more turn. So we're going to go for our own Norman, and I'm just going to summon one of the dinguses and then attack for a little bit more. And at this point, the game is over. There's not really a whole lot that they can do here. They're at 7 health, and they're also not able to get to 10 mana here, and I already have Cocytus and Dimension Climb here, so alas. But they're just going to use their Super Evo to clean up the field. They're in like a really sticky situation, but again, the game is pretty much over unless I just brick really, really hard with this Cocytus here, which is highly unlikely. Pretty much anything does it here, so alas. We're going to go for the Dimension Climb, and we're going to put our hand back and draw a bunch more cards, and hey, would you look at that, we drew Silent Rider, which is just a 10 for 6 mana with Storm. Now, granted, that sounds crazy, but the thing is, the only way to obtain these cards are through Ruler of Cocytus. By the way, this is a 1 mana 13/13, crazy card, I know. But alas, because we also have 10 play points because of Dimension Climb, we now get to actually just clean out the opponent. So out comes this dingus, and we just get attacked directly. So that is what, generally speaking, the deck is aimed to do. You just basically, you play out your deck in a way that you don't immediately die. You stifle your opponent's cards, you play a ward guy, you have other ways of dealing damage, but then Cocytus comes down, you make your deck a whole bunch of big guys that are really powerful, and then you play Dimension Climb, and you draw into all of them, and then all of a sudden, you're off to the races, and you can just OTK your opponent. There you go. Alright, now that we have a general grasp as to what I'm actually doing with this game, let's talk about it. How good is this game? Now, I've talked about this game previously, and honestly, the game had some issues when I last talked about it. And the thing is, it's only gotten worse. The problem is that the high-end cards, the legendaries, are extremely more expensive than all of the other cards in terms of crafting materials and rarity, that it is very difficult to actually obtain them. The problem is, that's where 90% of the power for your deck is. If your deck does not contain legendaries, you don't really have a win condition oftentimes. There are some times where you have a win condition, but your only realistic win condition is through legendary cards. Most of the time, right? There's basically aggro as one of your strategies, and the only other one where, technically speaking, you could get away without, like, a bunch of high-powered legendaries is Portalcraft Artifact, which is basically, like, you fuse a bunch of, like, smaller, lower rarity cards into big, powerful cards. So at the very least, you do have a win condition with that. But again, for the most part, you are extremely tied to the number of legendaries that you have, and if we look at a optimized deck list, this is not an optimized deck list, but if we were to look at an optimized, I actually just deleted all of them. If we were to look at an optimized deck list, it would be a lot more in terms of URs. Or legendaries, sorry. And, yeah, I think that is a lot of the issue. with this game. It's very expensive in terms of obtaining cards. It has taken me quite some time. I can actually check how much playtime I've had in this game in regards to Steam. Okay, I have played a total of 50 hours. I still have yet to obtain a full optimized deck list. That's a lot of time to play and a lot of time committed to not have a full deck list. And I'm not even talking about like, oh, I don't have a full deck list for this specific one that happens to be more expensive. And while that is technically true, it does happen to be a little bit more expensive. The thing is, even on release, I still would not have had an optimized deck list. Maybe I would have. I think at this point I would have had a fully optimized deck list at the release of the game. But still, around 50 hours of gameplay, let's say 40. Let's say I wasn't optimizing everything. About 40 hours of gameplay for me to actually obtain a fully optimized deck list on release of the game is a lot of time to commit to a game without actually having the ability to experience it in its entirety. And that's one deck. That's not to try and play other decks, which means, in reality, I'm not actually experiencing most of the game. I'm experiencing one deck's experience, which is Runecraft, which is a deck that I happen to like. It's cool, I like the idea of Spell Boost, but that is still an issue, right? I don't have the ability to play other decks. If we look at my other cards, like let's just look at what other cards I have. I can't do that. Cards. There we go. A lot of it is tied in to how many legendaries you have. So let's actually, we can actually do this. We can go to just the golds and legendaries. These are the big ones, right? If we look at, let's say, Forestcraft, I have not really many Forestcraft cards. I have some, right? Notably, I have Rhino Roach, but like, you know, I got one of this and one of this and two of this and one of this and one of this. Do you know what's funny? These aren't the cards that I need to make this deck good. To be fair, I actually probably could play this. This is one of the few that I could play, because this is also one of the few where the legendaries don't matter nearly as much as specifically this guy and this guy. And on top of that, all of the other like cards that are necessary. I think I also need this guy and this guy. This is one of the few where like the golds matter a lot more than the actual legendaries. So at the very least, I could play this one. It's still expensive, right? It's still 750. You can't see it, but it is 750 to craft these cards, which is still a lot, right? However, it's so much worse to craft these. Again, you can't see it. I'll move my camera. 3,500. It takes 3,500 crafting materials in order to create one legendary card. Now, remind you, gold is 750. And also, they liquefy for 200, meaning it takes... How much is that? It takes like 20? Not quite. It takes 17, 18 golds, which is the second highest rarity. It takes 18 extra golds over the 3 that you have to have before you can actually decraft them. It takes 18 golds to make one legendary. Yikes. That's a lot. That's a lot to commit to. Now, granted, you do get a fair amount of crafting material just generically, and all of that crafting material can be put into any rarity of card, so at the very least you do get that, right? But it is still a lot of commitment. And it takes a lot of time to make any deck, and to make any deck playable. I mean, again, let's choose a different one. Let's say Portalcraft, a deck that I have played a fair amount of, right? I am missing this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and I have one Orcus, and I have one Ralmia, and I have, you know, 2 Zwei. What? The thing is, Orcus is probably the best of the legendaries, and I have one of it, right? And it's not like I didn't try and pull for these cards, right? I did actually spend a bunch of the currency to actually roll for these cards, but alas, I just didn't happen to get them. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, right? But that's the thing, is like, again, I don't really have the ability to, like, pivot, right? I can't just, like, oh, maybe I'll play Havencraft. It's like, yeah, dude, with what cards? You just don't have the necessary resources to use these cards, right? So, that to me is such a massive downside, kind of looming over this game. And the thing is, we've only had 3 sets. We're getting a 4th one very soon, but we've only had 3 sets, and it's only gotten more and more egregious with every set, because in every set, we have new cards to add to every deck. Meaning, if you didn't start with all of the stuff, if you didn't start the game having all of these cards, being able to, like, craft all of these cards, you're kind of at a loss. Like, you just don't have the ability to keep up. Which means that as time goes on, if you are someone who is not consistently here, consistently keeping up with the metagame, or more specifically, like, if you weren't here from the start, it's only going to get harder and harder. So as a newer player, it's just going to get more problematic. And there are ways to, like, you could spend money, right? I mean, the battle pass, it's pretty good. Like, look at all these rewards, look at all this stuff you get, look at all these packs you can get for free. Let's see how much it costs. Okay, so it costs a total of, how much? In order to buy it, it costs 750 gems. 750. That's not that much. Okay, let's buy some crystals. How much does it cost? So the cheapest option to buy to get just the battle pass is $16. Now, technically, you do get more crystals than that. You could technically use those crystals elsewhere. But it takes $16 to buy the battle pass. Now, if you wanted to buy the upgrade, the premium pass, which gives you an additional 20 levels, which is great to catch up, right? Well, it actually takes $40. Even though it's double the price, it's actually way more than double the price in terms of actual real-world currency. And I know what you're saying. Well, actually, you could just buy this, and then buy the regular one, and then get the necessary gems, and then you can buy the next one. Great. Okay, so you're actually instead spending $24 instead of $16. Great. It still goes up by $8 additional dollars to buy 20 levels. Yee. So again, the game's pretty expensive. Now, all of that is to say that this game is not terrible if the gameplay's good, right? Well, look, I am still committed to playing this game out. But I will say, dear Atlanta, there are 2 things in this game that I think do not work. And it is Storm, specifically because there's a ton of Storm being put on high attack statted cards. And the problem with Storm is that all of a sudden, you die. And you have to basically be at full life points to not immediately die. There's a bunch of ways that your opponent just gets to kill you because of Storm. And because of the fact that you don't have a realistic way to keep blockers or anything of that nature, you don't really get a choice in the matter, unlike something like Magic, which I think does have the ability to use haste very effectively because of the way that blockers work in that game. It's very frustrating. All of a sudden, you just have, like, you could have, like, 4 guys on field, and it just doesn't matter because your opponent goes, here's a guy with 10 attack that has Storm, and now I'm going to Super Evo it, and now it has 13 attack, and now you're dead. Haha, loser. And the second thing is that other effect that I just talked about, which is Super Evo. I think Super Evo just does too much. It's too powerful, mostly due to the fact that the combat effectiveness of a super evolved character is just obscenely overpowered. It's extremely powerful because you don't actually take any damage. So you just attack into a thing, and then your opponent has to spend their own Super Evo to deal with your Super Evo guy. And it's very frustrating. And it basically means that, like, and because you also gain additional stats by the Super Evo, it's, like, really, really problematic, at least in my mind, with how powerful the Super Evo is. So, very, very goofy. I'm just really not a fan of those two mechanics in particular. I think they just don't work for this game. I think Evo is great. I think it's a really cool idea for the game, and it works really, really well. And then they Super Evo, and it's just like way too overtuned. It's just way too powerful. And I think Storm just doesn't work in this game. I think Rush is great. I think that's like a fine mechanic. Being able to attack the opponent's cards is fine. And there's a bunch of other things like that. Like the Fuse mechanic, I think is really, really cool. You know, with the with, for example, the loot in Swordcraft. I like the way that like generating cards works in this game, right? With you know, some of the gears and stuff like that also exist in this game. I think those are really cool. I like, you know, trigger effects on like evolution. That's a really cool effect, right? For example, this guy, he just nukes a guy when he's evoed, so that's pretty cool. And there's a bunch of stuff like that I do really enjoy, and it's why I still am willing to play this game. I think there's a lot of really good stuff there. It's just like there's two so heavily prevalent mechanics that really hinder a lot of the games that I feel like are just really frustrating. It's similar in nature to in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel with things like Roach, right? Where it's like, oh, here are these like really cool mechanics, and then also it's hindered by this card that just ruins games like 90% of the time, and you just have to struggle with it. Good luck, you know. It's very frustrating, and you know, hopefully they're never gonna fix that. That's the problem. They're just like core mechanics. Unlike something like the Roach where you could ban it and it solves a lot of the issues. You can't do that in this game. Super Evo is like the core mechanic of this game. And Storm is in this game because they don't want games to last that long. And the thing is, artificially decreasing or increasing the amount of time a game is played really tends to just have bad consequences. And I do think Super Evo is a... well, Storm specifically is a problem with that. They're like, oh, we want games to be short. And it's like, okay, you probably needed something else, like not having every board wipe under the sun be like 2 fucking mana. It's ridiculous. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy it and got at least something out of this. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.